How do you get your players very invested in the world? That's a different question than how to get them invested in the game. I'm going to point that out. You can be very, very invested in the game and love the game, but you don't care about the world that the game takes place in. Are you a game master looking to reduce your prep time, but you still want to run awesome games for your players? Lair magazine is a D&D and RPG resource that I publish to my patrons every single month. Each issue contains 2 5th edition adventures complete with maps designed for use on virtual tabletops, and several other GM resources such as new monsters, magic items, traps, and puzzles. Become a DM Lair patron today, and not only will you get instant access to 2 issues of Lair magazine, but also a slew of other benefits. DM Lair patrons get bonus content every month, such as additional 5th edition adventures and map packs, can come hang out with me over video chat, and help pick the videos I make. Learn more at my Patreon link down below. What motivates dungeon masters is different than what motivates players. Dungeon masters many times care about the world. We care about the setting. We care about the cities, the different little cool things that we've, assuming that we homebrewed it, the different things we've created and all this kind of stuff. You know, the different civilizations and the political stuff going on, the kings and the rulers and all this stuff. Many dungeon masters, game masters are excited about those things. Many times that's the least important thing to players. Players usually care about their characters and the adventures that they're going on. They care about gaining levels of power, leveling up, getting access to new cool spells and abilities, getting magic items, gaining wealth, building a legacy, having a stronghold, having followers, doing that sort of thing that revolves around their character. They care about the adventures that they go on. Are they doing something of importance? Are they overcoming obstacles? Are there bad guys that they're defeating? Are they doing things in the world that interests them? The adventures that they go on. For most players, in my opinion, the world comes in at a number 3, if not lower on the list, and there are other things they care about more. The world probably is not that big of a deal to most players, I feel. In fact, if you look, so Brandon's, what is his name? What is his name? Hold on a second. Brandon Sanderson. Thank you. That's the name. Brandon Sanderson. He has a YouTube channel, and he gives out basically advice to authors. Now, big point, being a game master is not the same thing as being an author, but you're still crafting things in the world when you're creating adventures and situations and stuff that are similar. You're still doing similar things to what an author does, even though I'm a very big proponent that a dungeon master is not a storyteller. There's a difference between an emergent story and a directed story. A directed story is when the game master is directing the story, they're deciding what's going to happen, and the players really can't influence it, even despite what they might do in the game. An emergent story is when the game master sets up a situation, they set up an encounter, they set up an adventure, the players and their characters interact with it, and then something happens as a result. And the game master has no idea what the result's going to be. And so the story emerges through gameplay. I'm a big proponent of emergent storytelling, as the way I just described it, not directed storytelling. That was a caveat, that was a sidetrack, but an important one. But if you look at Brandon Sanderson's YouTube channel, he gives advice to authors, and he one of the things he talks about is you know, the importance of such things as NPCs, the characters in the story, and the world in the story, and the plot. And he basically had a video that I was watching, and he is a world-class author. When he finished out the Wheel of Time series, in my opinion, he did a way better job than who wrote the Wheel of Time series again? Robert Jordan. He did a better job of writing out the last 4 or so books of the Wheel of Time series than Robert Jordan did. I would say Robert Jordan's first 4 or 5 books were outstanding. He lost his way in the center, and then Brandon Sanderson brought back hope. He was the redeemer of hope. He's an amazing writer. So he talked about the importance of characters, the plot, the action, and then the world. he ranked at the very bottom of the world. When you're writing a story, telling a story, what's going on in the world, that's the adventures that we make as game masters. And then the people in the world, the characters, that's the PCs, our players' characters. Those things are way more important than the world that things take place in. And so that's and that applies as well to running a game. Your players usually will care more about their characters and the plot, the adventures they go on, than the world. So the question is, how do you get players very invested in the world? I don't care about whether they're invested in the world or not, is the bottom line. It doesn't matter to me. Like, I don't know why that would be a goal of mine. I just don't know why that would be a goal of mine to get them invested in the world. Like, if I'm invested in the world and I care about the world that I've created, assuming I've made a homebrew world, that's great. But that's not what they care about. I don't want to, it's not my goal to change what my players care about. My goal is to run a fun game for everybody. Some people care about different things in the game. I think that's fine. So I really don't care if my players are invested in the world or not. I want them invested in the game, but there's a lot of things that are part of the game, you know, and the world is just one little itty bitty piece of that. So as long as they're invested in the game and they care about different elements, things that they have fun and enjoy, that's all I care about. If they're invested in the game and they like doing X, Y, and Z, even if they don't care about my world that I've spent countless hours creating, well, la-di-da. That's not one of the things that many players care about. So I just don't think that it should be a goal to get somebody invested in your world. Now, are there things you can do to make your world more interesting? Yes, there are. But I wouldn't set it in your game master mind. I wouldn't set it as like something that should be a goal of yours to get the players invested in the world. The goal really should just be run a fun game for everybody. And the things that are fun for players and that are fun for you should, as the game master, should be included in that game. Now, along the course of the way, if you do things that show off your world, little cool things like points of interest that kind of introduce a little bit of the lore of your world in an interesting way. I remember my one of the things that my Sword Coast Guard players really liked about my game once is that they were traveling from point A to point B and they ran across a wizard's tower, a tower. They just found a tower just sitting off the side of the road. They went and investigated it and they found out this tower every day at dawn disappeared and reappeared somewhere else in the world. That was it. That was the tower. And they found a special book in that tower too that Nigel ended up getting. I forgot everything that book did. They found a magic item that was linked to that tower. But that tower was extremely interesting to them. Just the simple fact they found a random tower that every day at dawn went somewhere else in the game world. And I had a little bit of lore attached to it. I think I had a little tiny bit of lore that they learned about it as well. And that made them, many of them commented that they thought that was really cool. They ran across that tower and they learned a little bit about the lore of the world. So my point is that's the sort of thing that you can do from time to time to make your players, to point out something about your world that's really cool. And the players will be like, oh, that's fun. That's really interesting. I like that. And then they go on about their lives. They go on about their adventuring, playing their characters, leveling up, gaining cool spells and magic items and stuff like that. But that's something you do from time to time. You don't want to overburden the game with that sort of thing, because remember, most players don't really care about that so much. Here and there, every so often, showing off your world and having them come across a point of interest that's really, really cool. That's awesome. And that doing that sort of thing every so often will help get them invested in your world more. Maybe, but it might not, and that's okay. The goal is not to get them invested in the world. The goal is to run a fun game for everybody. Or I shouldn't say run a fun game, because you can't control whether people have fun or not. All you can do is create the environment in which fun might happen.
And now I'd like to take a moment to thank the following awesome patrons who help support all the D&D and RPG content I create. Valerie, Keith, Fluid Phoenix, Ham Crusher, Michael, Connor, Jeff, Andy, Randall, Michael, I Feel You Froggy Jump, Zach, Dallas, John, Patrick, Kenny, Daniel, Shane, Hulkhammer, Clinton, Dougal, Eddie, Jonathan, Stephen, Abstantial, Adam, Evil David, Tony, The Fox Hardy Brand, Giovanni, TT Sniper, Illspawn, Aerospatial, Michael, Jonathan, Chris, DM Batman, Tom, Vigard, Trevor, Avery, Colin, Kennis, Stanislav, Jason, Mikal, The Casual Nerd, Alan, Ricky, Corey, J Squared, Tiger 500, Alex, Kobe, Ashrin, Garrett, Valerie, Dana, Ruvern, Freddie, Chigurusu, Gage, Jake, Peter, Boris, Marcus, Chris, Victoria, Gustav, Robert, Rama, Sebastian, James, Caleb, Aizen, Jason, Smash Skull, Talking Napkin, Danny, Randy, Lost to RL, Kevin, Georgie, Entropy, Jan, Jerily, Super, Event Horizon, Trevor, Dale, Matthew, Tiger, Aaron, Stefan, Labraworks, George, Alan, Milo, Michael, Helnar, Alex, Andrew, Aaron. Thank you all so much for your generous patronage. I wouldn't be able to do what I do without you.